Hello, everyone, once again. This is Rob, and welcome back to Media Awareness and my continuing review of The Wheel of Time Season 2. We are now on episode 6. Before I continue with this, though, a quick reminder the fundraiser is continuing. For those of you unaware, I am a disabled individual, and I use a motorized wheelchair slash scooter all day, every day for my independence. And although many of these significant goals have been met in terms of sustaining my health, well being, and safety, there are still many concerns that need to be addressed ASAP, including the main power cable, which is in jeopardy of failing. And if it does so, I am pretty much stuck. So it is imperative that you guys help me out. I have no insurance to cover this. They will not cover anything with regard to my wheelchair slash scooter, as it's seen as a quote luxury item end quote. Not sure how that exactly works, but that's how the insurance company sees it. So therefore, I really need your help, and any and all donations are welcome. You can donate at the Spot Fund account linked below this video, and I'm asking for $10 a person. If you could do more than that, that's wonderful, and I really appreciate it. But if you can do $10, that's also wonderful. And if you're not able to contribute for financial hardship reasons, I do understand. All I ask is that you like and share and make people aware of media awareness and my need for your help. It really would mean a lot to me. I really, really like this episode a lot for a lot of reasons. And I'm going to go through it with the moments that stood out for me and that I feel worked in terms of the storyline that some of which were not related to the books at all. So I want to start out with Rand, our proverbial main character, really. And Rand, I like the way the opening sequence went with him and Lanfear, and him waking up and choosing to leave Moraine. And it it works for a lot of reasons for me. It works because he's really being respectful of her and her life, if one can interpret it that way. And also, he's wanting to explore his power and uh, not necessarily take the word of Lanfear, but I think to really just see what he's capable of in the context of the show, not the books. Um, and we see that more in a little. Well, I'll get to that in a few moments. But when he initially wakes up and leaves, Marty, I think personally he did it out of respect for her and her life, not wanting her to be subject to Lanfear's wrath, um, but also to be more free to embrace the source and utilize the power and learn to harness it, learn to use it. Um, and I think in some ways he's still connected to Lanfear from when she was known to him as Selene. And he even mentions her name and mentions that to her, to Lanfear, that, you know, a part of her that was Selene is still, part of him. And it's it's one of those situations where I I really feel for what he's struggling with, and I get the impression of the struggle. I get the direct uh, vibe that he is struggling, yet he wants to do what's right for his friends, and that's something that is sort of coming around at this point because his friends are gradually being filtered back into the same general location, which will help the storyline in terms of following the books more closely. As I stated previously, there was a conscious need to deviate as due to uh, Barney Harris's unfortunate departure from the series and needing to rewrite the whole ending section to just have Rand really, and to have him go off on his own. That that was a necessity of uh, the series needing to start and needing to be aired and not wasting any time, having enough time being bogged down for the COVID lockdown and filming, etc. I digress. Uh, the next part I want to cover with Rand is when he visits Logain, as this is a really significant portion of the storyline for me at least. As you see him, you know, asking Logain what how to go about things, and uh, you see Logain's astonishment and just amazement of just how in touch with the One Power Rand is, and general concern that he is going to burn himself out if he embraces too much. And you see the physical repercussions of that on Rand when he does let go and when he does um, come back from that embrace of that. And Logain sort of comforting him in that. I like that a lot. And I think that was really a nice moment and a helpful moment to have that. And you have it from Logain, who's clearly insane. But it also helps that Logain knows what the One Power feels like and knows how it works and how to utilize it. And uh, Rand is sort of looking at him at that point as a potential mentor, but also as someone that he still needs to be somewhat guarded around due to the fact that Logain is a dangerous person. So I like that scene a lot. Um, I want to go from there to the dreamlike state where Ishmael um, shows Land this horrible visual of his friends all dead, and Land and Fierce were materializing in and wiping away Ishmael very casually. I love it. I love her character. I love that she is so evil yet so actually caring for Rand. It touches my heart to see the evil caring aspect. I don't know what's wrong with me. But it's really nice to have that those two aspects of her. Um, and Rand helped that along in the initial scene where he appealed to her and his uh, his once connection with her in his past existence, um, several um, lifetimes before. And I really feel though that helped him in that moment, and she gave him what he wanted. He wanted to see Egwene, and I'm going to sort of segue now into Egwene and what happened with her in this episode, as it was really intense, in my opinion. I love that Rand sees her at technically possibly the lowest he's ever seen her, struggling, um, in pain, uh, and he doesn't get to see her long, but he sees her in this bound state, and that in and of itself is enough to motivate Rand to want to help even more so. And I really feel, though, that this also shows Rand the other side of um, the One Power in terms of the female half and how it's being used as a slavery technique to keep women in slavery to be used as tools by the Shanshang. But um, Egwene and her, her poor struggle. Oh my God, this episode was amazing in showing how the Shanshang work with the women that can channel, and how they work in tandem, and how they're a manipulator, for lack of better words, links to them and can inflict pain when necessary, can control their every action, really, um, and really make them suffer to the point where they're able to manipulate the point of what they want and what they want as an end result. And oh my God, the the, the amount of agony that Egwene goes through by her handler, for lack of better words, is just tremendous. But at the same time, she has shown that she can really thrive with the power, and focus, and she makes it the tree outside the window just burst in flames with her power, with her abilities. And uh, at the end of that, she is rewarded by finally being able to have a drink of water, after really putting up a fight for a while. She relents, and she's sad from this. And you have the sister that was captured sometime before in the Blue Lodge next door, basically lamenting that even this can happen to the Blue Lodge. It can happen to anyone. And we see that with the Yellow Lodge, when Nynaeve and Elaine are basically asked to examine the collar that the Yellow Lodge had um, really gotten through some troubling abilities to get this to try and figure it out, and it's basically determined that it cannot be, um, there's no lock for it. It cannot be broken, really. And the the yellow sister asks Nynaeve to help with Elaine in examining it and using one power, even though Nynaeve warns her that she cannot control herself as well as Elaine. The sister does encourage it, and unfortunately, the burst of power alerts the Shanshang of their whereabouts, and this is something that was really kind of touching for me. Instead of the sister um, chastising Nynaeve, she says, "Listen, you're still learning, and it's okay. I'll take the fall for you. You stay safe. You save your friend. I'll take care of this." And that was really moving. And seeing her going outside with her warder and standing up for herself and for the girls, to basically save them, really. It's just amazing. And begging her warder to kill her, knowing the consequences, and her warder is killed by the Shanshang. And then she's really, really, really ticked off. And during that whole sequence, you see her twisting these Shanshang women. You hear bones cracking. They are twisted into really unnatural, um, Lovecraftian positions, if you will. Something that you would see in H.P. Lovecraft. They're just these horrible, contorted shapes that they become at her will, and it's just amazing how she utilizes the power, and it's all you know sort of ended at when she is just collared, and she is taken by the one that survived, and that was a moving moment for me. Um, I want to go from there to Leandrin, one of my favorite characters. If you've been following this series on Wheel of Time, I don't know why I love Leandrin and why I love her persona and the Red Raja. Maybe I'm just that person. I don't know. But I just, she's caring for her son, and you you get the impression of how much she cares, and Lanfear is there, and basically says, the deal that you made wasn't wasn't with Ishmael, wasn't with, you know, anyone specific. It was with the Dark One, and that, you know, she can end the suffering, and it's really a touching moment for me. And I don't know if it's just me or if it's just like that amount of caring that Leandrin has. Just, turning against everyone that are close to her for the one purpose and for the sole purpose of someone that she cares for, someone that she loves. That touches me. And I find it incredibly moving. And I don't know if I'm the only person that thinks that way, but I just find it moving that she would do all that for one person. It's really it's really beyond moving for me, and I was just touched by that. And of course, having two of my favorite women in the same scene is also a plus. Lanfear and Leandrin, just that evil incarnate, really, that I find so appealing and attractive. I don't know why, but it's just really an interesting scene, and I think it was really well done. So we have that, and I want to move from there to one of the high points of the episode as well, which is Mat reuniting with Rand. And this is where the story is finally starting to get tied together properly because everyone is finally getting around to being in the same place at the same time. And I really think that that's the end game of this season as a whole, is to kind of bridge that gap that we unfortunately got at the end of season one. Uh, and I really like the way that Rand bumps into Mat and and the interaction that Mat and Rand have, and it's a warm, friendly reacquaintance. Is that even a word? Warm moment. Let's just go with that. And I enjoy it. I really like that a lot. And them planning to leave the city together. And Mat saying he had need to say goodbye to someone. He would meet Rand. He goes back, he sees Min, who confesses that she is a dark friend. And even though that's a deviation from the books, because Min is not a dark friend in the books, I think it works in the context of this particular iteration. Because Min is one of those characters that is flexible. And she can come around. And I can see her very easily coming around very quickly. Uh, and she's already sort of been toyed with by Ishmael enough to know that he plays the long game. He doesn't give easy rewards or easy solutions. He wants to drag things out and get as much out of someone as he possibly can. And that is seen very well with um, with her and her gift, and him promising to take it away, but then kind of yanking it away from her, and saying, "Well, you have to do this first for me." So she is clearly onto him, and she doesn't care, and she tells Mat, and Mat is still warm towards her. Yeah, he walks out, but I'm sure he's going to come back to her. And uh, I could see, especially after watching, knowing that he couldn't join Rand, knowing that that would lead to a worse ending, he watches Rand walk away. You see the pain that he's feeling, having to let his friend go. And I'm sure he went back to Min at that point. And that's not the last we'll see of Min. And I like the way that was played out very well. And then, of course, as Rand's trying to leave, he runs into Lan and uh, the other Aes Sedai. We're traveling with Lan. And he's obviously not going anywhere anytime soon. But I love the way that is done. One other thing I do want to touch on before I end this particular recap and review is Moiraine and House Domadred, because we don't get a lot of her connection with her royal house as much as we're getting with this in the books. We don't get that. We get the references to it, but we don't get to see it or really to experience it. And I like that we're getting that experience. I like that we have her having interaction with her nephew. And that she does come around after basically blowing him off once her sister infuriates her. And coming around and just saying, listen, I do remember when you used to make me into bread and butter, and there's a nice moment there. And it shows the warmth of Moraine and the heart that she has. And how it's something that she struggles with, because she is Aes Sedai and she needs to be faithful to the White Tower and to, her, her people, um, her Aja, the Blue Aja. She needs to be two people basically, and she struggles with that. And she was just ignoring her family for a long time. I like that the show is addressing that, and that's something that we don't really get in the books. Not as much, at least, not really at all. It's referenced here and there, but it's not even really touched on as much as it is here. And I like that we're getting to see more of the humanity of the cost and the toll of being an Aes Sedai. I think it's really helpful, in my opinion. So there is one scene with Lan being accused of being a dark friend by the warders and Aes Sedai that he is traveling with, and I have to agree with Daniel Green of Fantasy News on this one. That was just odd to me. It's Lan, and of all people, he is one person that would never be a dark friend, and it's just like, why is this even being brought up? Um, it made no sense. We have a lot to look forward to in next week's episode 7, and I cannot wait. And I will be here to cover it for you, my viewers. This is Rob with Media Awareness. Once again, don't forget about the fundraiser. Donate your $10 today, skip your cafe latte, and make my day, because it certainly will. With every contribution that comes in, it's one step closer to making my scooter um, whole again, so to speak, as it's in need of repairs and maintenance, etc. And like I said previously, my insurance will not cover any of this. So I do appreciate all your contributions. I will see you all again soon. Have a wonderful morning, noon, or night, wherever you are. Take care, bye, and remember, the wheel weaves as the wheel rolls.